All right. I think we're back and better than ever.
Wait, are we live?
Yeah, let's point it at me.
Oh.
So we're live.
Oh, okay, we're live. Totally on top of it this morning. That's definitely what's
all
up.
the way on top of it. We had some, the mics was static. Oh, hold on, I got the, hey, the sound's working. My bad. Anyway, what's up, John?
Nothing much.
We're back and better than ever.
We are better. I hope everybody caught.
Are we better than ever? We're better than ever.
Yeah. Every week, just adding on top of better. You know,
Yeah.
better.
I got tea and shit.
Yeah, we all have
what's
tea.
going on,
like
man?
I feel like we're really we've really entered a bougie realm.
Right, we've
Got-
like notched up our
Yeah.
bougie a little bit.
Multiple cameras. We've got our tea now.
Right, they got, I started making
Lots
sure
of
I brush my
makeup.
little shit a little bit.
You should actually see how much makeup Sean puts on before the show.
Shit.
Incredible. I was like, Sean, it's fine.
Yeah. You gotta make sure everything's just right. So anyway, man, so we told everybody we got
Yeah,
Will
we got
Smith
a
in the
very
building.
special guest,
And-
Will Smith.
Yeah, listen, guys, we got it. It might not be the Will Smith you was expecting.
It's
So I don't want to, I feel like we kind of like, what's the word called? Like dangled something that wasn't
I
true.
think it is the Will Smith they're expecting.
That's why
We actually have Will Smith from Independence Day. And I am legend. Not Will Smith, co-chair of the Colorado Springs Democratic Socialists in America. So we apologize, everybody.
Yeah, we couldn't get him, so we had to get this Will Smith.
Yeah.
Anyway, man.
No, we got local celebrity,
Local
Will
celebrity,
Smith.
man.
I've
What's
seen
up,
him
bro?
in several
man,
pictures.
How's it going?
Yeah.
I'm Will.
Hey, if you're an activist out here, at doing anything really, you've probably met this guy, especially at the Schmidt Center.
Yeah.
You've been a fixture here. We appreciate all the stuff that you've done and, kind of helping us out and get this thing, going or whatever. The DSA, man, we're going to talk about the stuff, man. It feels like, Colorado Springs is kind of like, we're leveling up, bro.
Yeah, we are. We definitely
are.
are.
Way to put it, you know what I'm saying? Like, there shit is happening here in the activist circles that's never happened. I guess it has happened.
Maybe.
In the 30s, we just heard about the black lady in the 30s that they took out of the history books and stuff. So stuff like that always has been going on here. But in our lifetime, it's like this shit just hasn't been like this. And
No,
you've
totally.
been here for a long time doing.
Yeah, this is something new here in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
And I think it's mostly Will.
It's mostly
Good
Will.
job,
Very
Yeah.
disciplined. Building the social
How'd you do
movement.
it, man?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
seriously, man. Tell us about how'd you get started with this stuff, and you're a socialist in the Colorado Springs, and you're young. It's like you got all of the magic stuff here. You know what I'm saying to make shit happen, man. So where do you put yourself, and how did you get there?
Yeah, I mean, it all started, I was a background character on Independence Day with Will Smith back in 1996, before I was born, of course.
Oh, okay.
So, no, but I mean, I wasn't like super politically active growing up, but I think like 2016, Bernie Sanders probably was like the thing that got me to at least start thinking about politics.
Okay.
And I think
he
does it. Like there's so many young people and even older people who are like kind of mobilized by his talk of like class talk. It's like that 99% versus the 1% that really like incited people. But I think so. I kind of got a little bit into politics, saw Bernie Sanders, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. I guess I support like healthcare, Medicare for all, whatever.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know, 2020, I saw the election and I saw Democrats and Republicans, and I kind of just got fed up with the system. I was like, there's a lot of bullshit going on, and there's a lot of shit that's wrong in the world that isn't being addressed by those in power. So I think that's when I started directing my actions towards building local power, and I joined the DSA. Specifically, I joined during the summer uprising that was going on with like the George Floyd protests.
I didn't realize that's what you were doing.
Yeah. So that was actually like my first time organizing, and then I've just been organizing with DSA ever since. Recently, we got our chapter head status in Colorado Springs. Now we're on our way to International Proletarian Revolution.
That's right. And this will be the center point,
Yeah.
where it all comes from. So Chair is
America,
Will is the newly elected co-chair of our chapter. Oh no, I gave it away. I'm also a member of the Colorado Springs DSA.
I saw the pin. I was wondering. you know. It's
I
great
should
to
have
meet you
given
for
you
the
one.
first time.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but I think it's dope, man. It just goes to show the power of like people paying attention to their environment and what's happening around them. And you really, the DSA got lucky, you know, that Bernie got to you, man. Because I think that like you're pretty good at this shit. And I don't like it's kind of even hard to measure like where you're gonna like how far you can take this thing with yourself or whatever. But anyway, I think that it goes to show that like it's here, like we have it in us, and it's not like you don't have to indoctrinate children or whatever. Like just the effects of capitalism have done this. You know what I'm saying? And it's just making it do what it does.
People
and
know.
it's turning people out to organize against.
Well, and I think this also illustrates the importance of social movements. And I know there's actually a debate within our own chapter, but like it really is. And when people were out in the streets this summer, it inspired so many people. We gained so many new members out of the uprisings. And we've talked about this before. The Chinook Center really, you know, it existed as a concept before the uprisings this summer. But afterwards, I think we were just like, we need to take advantage of this energy. And people wanted to take advantage of that energy. And they were putting money and time and things like that into building it.
Anything that they could put into it, they did.
I mean, like, so the way I see it is like our material conditions, like all of us are dealing with bullshit, right? You know, it's like we got single moms that can't, single moms that like are going through bankruptcy because of like medical bills or whatever. Can't buy food for their children, you know, like having trouble, just like, you know, like poverty is all over and people are having issues with like not having good wages and even like racial issues. You know, we're seeing like black dudes literally being shot in the streets by the state, you know, so it's like
here in this neighborhood.
Right. And so you have these material conditions that are like motivating people. They're frustrated. And then it's like the social movements that are, you know, an old school Marxist or like like the Black Panthers or like old school labor organizers, they'd call it like elevating like these class antagonisms. Yeah. You're pointing out like what's already happening, but you're giving people a catalyst to express that frustration.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And I think that's what we saw like in the summer, you know, is like obviously like black people being persecuted by the police isn't anything new. Yeah. But I think it's like we reached a tipping point and that's what we saw this summer. Yeah. And I think the social movements are going to bring even greater social movements.
Yeah. I think we were talking about that. Like, man, you know, next summer people are going to be like, "What's happening?" Like,
especially youngsters.
What we doing? You know what I'm saying? So like, we got to keep the momentum going. I think, you know, a lot of the organizations, community organizations, did a good job of keeping it together. You know what I'm saying? After the protest, you know, we kind of said it. After the protest, we focused and realigned and kind of, you know, get our little ducks in a row, and everybody's programs are running and initiatives are going, and summertime is about to kick up.
Yeah, as my old friend in Boston used to say, the fighting season's coming up.
Fighting season. It's great to just know, like, oh yeah, it's going down. I don't like whatever. There's something that we're going to organize around and that's happening, and it's going to go down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like for the state to know. Oh yeah, they're coming. Like, I don't know if they do right now, but maybe after this they'll know.
There's enough energy out there.
Exactly. It really feels like right now is like preparation work, you know, because it's like with how America is, like some shit's gonna escalate and blow up very soon. So it's like I think it's our job as like organizers and like advocates of social movements to prepare for when that does occur, so that we can take advantage.
To be ready to grab it up. Yeah, because you know we noticed that like, during the summer we were like, man. They're doing this over here and this over here. They're doing shit on the same day and whatever. And now I just don't. That's not going to happen. You know, what I mean, there's you know, we have a calendar not only, but other organizations have calendar. Our community has a calendar. You know what I'm saying? Where all of the organizations put their stuff on there, so we all know what's going on. So I think that you know, they messed up when they did what they did. You know what I mean?
Well, and you know, there were a lot of folks like you out there last summer that were new. They'd never like really been in this like moment of mass mobilization before. And so like, you know, we were sort of like, a lot of the older folks were like, here's what needs to happen or whatever, and it's hard to convince somebody who hasn't lived through it that like they're like, what do you know? You know what I'm saying? But I think enough people have gone through it now that they understand there's like the nuances that happen with mass mobilizations. It's not like, you know, last summer was great. There were a lot of people. They would just go down to City Hall at 10 a.m. and expect something to happen. But
every day, dude.
And that's not usual. That's not. You can't just continue to do that. You have to like think through like what you're actually trying to accomplish. But I think people understand that now, and they also understand like the powers that be will try and co-opt you, these sorts of things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we lived it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you see like all these fucking like big corporations trying to co-opt the name of like Black Lives Matter, and even you know, like center Democrats who are trying to co-opt it, and they're just like,
just water it down.
Don't actually want to change anything.
Right,
you know?
right. The best way to do it is just water it down and it'll die.
Yeah. Slap a sticker, a Black Lives Matter sticker on, and everything's good.
We're gonna have our singing cookie mascot like sing about Black Lives Matter or something. I don't know.
I'm like, wait, is that real? Because that would be.
I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see it.
Keep the peace and the freedom. You know, freedom. What does that even mean? Like,
No, totally. Yeah.
It's like Coke, Pepsi, Black Lives Matter, Cola. You know, that'll be like what happens or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you consumerize it.
Shit's nuts.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was something I wanted to bring up locally here that just the organicness of things, you know what I'm saying? Like calling something one thing doesn't make it doesn't make it legitimate or something. You know what I'm saying? Like the name is cool or whatever, doesn't really mean much of anything. Like I personally thought the name Black Hammer was a dope name.
Oh, right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, wait, when you listen to them, like, oh, wait a minute, what the, like, why did y'all waste that name? You know what I'm saying? Like, wasted that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, great. Now they're going to start making videos about us. Good going, Sean. We're gonna get a clown video directed against us.
That would be scary.
Oh my gosh,
that clown dude made him say my name.
So
I had to go find him, man. I can't be threatened like
that. Yeah. What's their? I guess we don't.
Yeah, he was saying something. I don't know, man. It was a whole, but I can't even remember.
No, I saw the videos.
It was like an hour long, calling out the Colorado Springs Antifa. But like, how long do you need?
Right. That was.
I mean, conservatives do it in 2 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck Antifa.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, man. So what are we talking about?
So I think we brought Will on here to talk about the Colorado Springs DSA. So you know, all this energy that came. DSA is DSA has exploded since 2015, and it's exploded here in Colorado Springs. Mm-hmm. You're the new co-chair. We wanted to talk to you a little bit about Colorado Springs DSA and just DSA in general. So can you tell us a little bit, like, first about DSA?
Sure.
And then maybe we can discuss a little bit more about, like, the specific Colorado Springs DSA chapter.
Yeah. No, I'm cool with that.
Can you see that?
Yeah. So I mean, DSA really did explode with like the Bernie Sanders movement. I think they were probably around like 20,000 members like before the Bernie campaign. I think right now we're a little bit over 100,000 now. I could be wrong. It's somewhere close to 100,000. But so membership has exploded pretty exponentially, and then that's only official dues-paying members, not including like people who are actively participating in DSA events nationwide or whatever. You know, DSA is becoming kind of a household name in politics, I think.
Definitely.
So everyone's heard about democratic socialists or democratic socialism, even if they don't understand what those things are.
What it is,
Right.
What is it?
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit?
Well, you want to talk about them next?
Let me get the organization, the chapter, and then I'll talk about the ideology. Yeah. So the organization's kind of like a broad coalition of everyone from like, you know, progressive liberals to like full on what you'd call a commie, I guess. You know, it's like every section of the left. It's like it's an umbrella organization, really.
What about for anarchists?
No, anarchists, they get the gulag. Yeah, just kidding. Anarchists are very welcome. We have several.
Like, wait a minute, what?
No. We have several anarchists in our organization as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a broad leftist coalition to, you know, we're anti-capitalists is really all it is, and we want an egalitarian society. We're looking for more equality. We're looking for you know, the people we pay to make laws for us to actually start working for us.
Yeah.
So. Locally as a chapter, I know, what an idea, right? What an idea. As a chapter, we're fairly new. We actually grew out of a local org called Colorado Springs Socialists.
Okay.
It was eventually dissolved, and we became the Colorado Springs DSA, which means we're a chapter of the larger national organization. And yeah, we're fairly new. We just got chapterhood status. We're probably like 1.5 years, 2 years old.
Nice.
And yeah, we do all sorts of work, super diverse. You know, we have an abolition working group, police abolition. We have an eco-socialist working group. We have a newsletter we're coming out with. we do a lot. Electoral committee, labor committee.
Yeah.
Some people might be familiar with like the Wild Goose campaign. Like we were helping out with that. So we kind of have our hands everywhere. And really what we're trying to do right now is, with our George Soros funded organization.
You can't say that. People believe it.
People
are going to be like, got him.
Disclaimer, I don't mean that. I wish I had George Soros bucks.
Could you imagine what we'd do?
Dude, for real, you know? I don't know. I'd get Chinook Center a much bigger space, I think.
Nice.
You know?
Get something for the police to think about.
Yeah, so right now we're trying to build solidarity with other local organizations. You know, there's things like the IWW, you got Black and Pink, you got Southside Alliance. It's like all these great organizations that are doing awesome work.
Yeah.
And so DSA is really trying to just join the broader leftist coalition in Colorado Springs through our own ideology, but doing it in solidarity with everyone.
You guys have done good so far. It's like 200 members. Is that what you say? That's a lot of people, man. So, you know, I think that your goals you're accomplishing them, man. You know, and you're like right here, in K-Land, where all of the communities, organizations have kind of like, you know, come together, like you're right in the right spot. And like, you know, it's a good mixture, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like organic shit where like those kids were just pissed off at what was going down, and they went out there, and then, you know, they met people like you and John and Sam and whatever, and, you know, got to learn these things. So now you have an organization like Move, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
yeah.
And the Southside Alliance.
Oh, we love Move, you know?
Yeah. So it's really dope, man. So I think that, like, you guys are a year in, and it's like, that's a great thing, you know what I'm saying? I think it's going to mushroom, you know what I'm saying? It's going to do things that you don't even really recognize right now.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, I feel really great about our progress and our growth. I think right now the biggest thing that I'm focusing on as co-chair, and I think my other co-chair Mariah would agree with me, is building like a relational organization structure where people are feeling like constantly involved and not just feeling like they're a part of an organization, but they're like in camaraderie with one another. You know, we're trying to build because really at the end of the day, like as socialists, what we're trying to do is build a healthier, safer, and more thriving community across the nation, you know, or across the world. And so
it's weird. I thought it was all about burning down the suburbs.
No. I mean, that comes later.
Okay.
Which is a joke also.
Guys,
I'll just keep looking into the camera every time.
Man.
To some extent.
You know when we're playing and when we're not. So, all right, So here's the thing. I grew up on the South Side.
Yeah.
I'm from here in, you know, whatever. There's not much activism that was happening in the 90s when I was a kid or whatever. Had no clue. But when I hear socialism, communism, it's instantly, that's some Russian white shit. You know, maybe are they like racist? Are they Nazis with the boots and shit? Like with the mohawk and all? Like it's not nothing black for sure. You know what I'm saying? Obviously I've learned different, and I've learned that, you know, in American history, like some of the most famous socialists were black, you know, the Black Panthers and So just to name one. Anyway, there's a bunch, you know what I'm saying? We were just talking about Angela Davis, that, you know, she's a self-proclaimed communist, you know what I'm saying? And Afeni Shakur is, you know, she's still on exile or whatever. Like this is definitely something that black people have gotten down with, and I, you know, I made comments that I think that Reagan killed the shit. You know what I'm saying? That he made it. He purposefully made sure that he killed that movement completely.
I mean, he was a virulent anti-communist. That was like his life, basically. You know?
Well, and like anti-communist, like anti-communist action is like a very documented phenomenon from the U.S. government. You know, it's like you had shit like COINTELPRO, and you had the FBI targeting people, right? Like there's new evidence that just came to light that the FBI was directly involved in the assassination of Fred Hampton. You know what I'm saying? Who was a self-proclaimed Maoist. He was a communist, like fully. You know, he's like probably the best example of a black Marxist revolutionary in America. And so I think like a lot of the sentiment, a lot of people's ideas around socialism and communism have really come from like a very intentional smear campaign from the U.S. government, which you know, it can sound kind of out there when you phrase it like that, but it's like this is like documented phenomenon. You know, you have like the McCarthy trials and like people in Hollywood and like professors that were actually like being charged with crimes for being communists.
The House Un-American Activities Committee, that was basically just like calling in people that they thought were communists and
Yeah.
And then blacklisting them if they figured out they were.
Right. And then even like shit like murdering communist labor organizers. Like the IWW was decimated by the U.S. government because they were such a strong socialist, leftist labor union movement. And the only labor movements that were allowed to thrive were those in the AFL-CIO who were what was they had to sign something, the anti-communist.
They have to sign loyalty oaths, anti-communist oaths. Like if you look at unions today, they have been completely effectively purged of communists since the 1930s, when communists led most, like the CIO, I almost said CIA. That's what they call it in third world countries, the AFL-CIA, because they helped overthrow communist dictatorships. So the CIO was formed by two communist brothers. They were communists. They organized, and then they're like, we got to get rid of these communists because they're the ones leading the charge in this. So if they weren't killed, they were banished by their own organizations.
Yeah. And so all that being said, America's very rich socialist tradition, and especially very rich black socialist tradition. And even like the worldwide socialist tradition, like most socialist movements worldwide are not, like white dudes. You know what I'm saying? It's like Ho Chi Minh, you got in Cuba, you have people like Fidel, and like whether or not you agree with their politics, this is like an international multi-ethnic ideology.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
And I think just the U.S. has done a very good job at erasing sort of the history of socialism in America, because socialists have given us like some of the best, like a lot of concessions and luxuries that we enjoy today. It's like the 40-hour work week and the 8-hour work day, minimum wage. This is shit that's been won by labor unions that were led by socialist organizers and other leftists and anarchists.
I often say like all of the good stuff that you can think about in a society is socialist.
Yeah, it was at least led by socialists. Exactly.
It's socialism. Like the easy things are the fire department and the hospital, and all of these things are socialist activity. You know what I'm saying? And we just talked about this morning where I thought this was an original thought. So I'm in there showering up. I'm like, yo, I just figured this shit out. And then John is like, yeah, man, people been saying that for a long time, and it's true. So here's what I figured out myself.
I'm always bursting your bubble. Your soap bubble.
On the soapbox. But so I figured everybody, when you look at a Christian, you talk to Christians, and they'll say, this is a good Christian, this is not a good Christian, or not a real Christian, or they don't practice, Christian faith or whatever correctly or whatnot. The ones that people would agree are good Christians are all socialists. Like they're
maybe they don't call themselves that.
They don't
but
know it. They won't say it or whatever. But like they're socialists. You know what I'm saying? And we was just talking to I forgot. Might have been the twins or something. And it was Lil D. I was like, Jesus Christ was a socialist, man. He was like one of the most famous socialists in the world. You know what I mean? And right along with whoever, Karl Marx and the rest of it. And he was like, wait, what does that even mean? I don't even know what capitalist or socialist means. You know what I'm saying?
But so he did know when you taled about overthrowing the bankers' tables. He's like, yeah, you're right, exactly.
Like, that's capitalism. He was against that shit. You know what I'm saying? So, I feel like I just wanted to say it out loud because it's like, man, dude, like we could talk about this and make it a real thing. You know what I'm saying? And like I don't know now. I don't know, maybe when our parents were our age, like they couldn't have got on the podcast and be like, I'm a socialist.
Right, because McCarthy and all those.
The police is on the way right now. Like it's crazy as hell. That in America that was happening. You know what I'm saying? And it's really not even like a like country against countries and things. It's like I need a fix to the shit that you're doing, and it's called socialism or communism or whatever it is.
And actually, Sean brings up a good point. Socialism, communism, anarchism. So I don't think a lot of people know exactly what socialism is, and communism, and anarchism.
So can we talk about what it is
and the DSA platform related to that? You know what I'm saying?
So this is actually something I've given, like we do political education in DSA. So this is a specific subject that I've talked about like for our political education.
Yeah, so Socialism 101.
Yeah, Socialism 101. And so I think like to be a socialist in America, a lot of it is getting through the weeds and getting rid of the trash that people associate with socialism, right?
Like all that stuff John was just talking about with our parents, like that's like the Soviet Union and their missiles or whatever.
Exactly. And so so like in this conversation, like I want to steer away from like Soviet Union and like People's Republic of China and Cuba, and let's just talk about like socialism as like an ideology, right? And as a movement. So really at the fundamentals, socialism is advocating for a worker-controlled economy and a worker-controlled state, right? So in capitalism, you have this relation of boss and worker. The socialists are advocating, hey, the boss is just a middleman. Let's have worker control. We're the ones that are making the society run, so why don't we get to reap the full benefits of our work? You know what I'm saying? So it's like right now I have to go out and sell my labor and I have to accept whatever pocket change they'll give me, but socialists are envisioning a society in which the workers are going to be able to ultimately decide what happens to profit or the money that comes out of it and the things that they create and whatnot. Really it's just worker control is at its basis. That's what socialism is. Communism is a movement that is advocating for a stateless, classless, and moneyless society. And they hope to achieve this. Communists hope to achieve a stateless, classless, moneyless society through a transitory state, so like a temporary state of socialism, right? So like people like what Karl Marx was advocating for was we have a socialist state in which workers take control over the state and production, but eventually that would lead us to a society in which we don't need a state anymore, whether that's through like on the ground building community structures of like workers' councils or whatever. Basically the idea is they want to get to a stateless, classless, moneyless society. Anarchists want the same thing, but anarchists want to tear down the state instead of using the state. At the most basic,
just a difference in strategy, basically.
Yeah, it's just a difference in strategy. So historically, anarchists and communists and socialists have allied themselves together. That hasn't always gone well for anarchists or communists. There's definitely been backstabbing, just because there is a difference in practice. You know, so anarchists are going to be looking more for like. Like syndicalism is a good example of anarchism. They're building mutual aid in communities and building self-sufficient communities so that you no longer need the state. So
that's called syndicalism?
Yeah, that would be like syndicalism, which is like an anarchist type. Yeah, if
anarchist unionism.
Anarchist unionism, yeah. But basically the idea is they don't think we need to use the state. Socialists are trying to use the state as a means to create a more equal society. Right. Specifically through like worker ownership. Is there
a difference between a socialist and a democratic socialist?
Yeah. So let me talk about democratic socialism and social democracy, because these are two terms that often are like used interchangeably that don't mean the same thing. So a lot of times when people think of democratic socialism, they think of Bernie Sanders, they think of Norway, they think of Sweden. And that's not technically correct. Bernie Sanders might ideologically be a democratic socialist, but like the policies like Medicare for All, Green New Deal, these would be considered social democratic policies. And the only thing that means is social democracies are going to still have a capitalist system, but it's just friendlier. It's welfare capitalism, right? So like in Denmark and Sweden and Finland, they are still predominantly capitalist. They have some nationalized industries. Usually it's energy industries like oil, healthcare, and the education, and some other stuff in like infrastructure, whatever.
Right.
But predominantly they're still capitalists. They just give more concessions to workers. They're saying, hey, we have these social safety nets for you. Hey, everyone is in a union, so you're able to bargain for your jobs or for your wages.
There's upwards of like 50 to 60% of workers in like Germany and Scandinavia are like members of unions, and unions are integrated into the decision-making process at a lot of different levels. Kind of like corporatist, I guess.
Yeah. No, totally. And like Finland doesn't even have a minimum wage, yet they still have some of the highest wages in Europe because of their extremely high union membership rates, right? So it's like, I think it's like over 60% of the workforce is in a union in Finland, and they do something where it's like by industry you have larger unions, whatever. Either way, so that would be more like social democracy. Like think friendly capitalism, like trying to address some of the inequalities of capitalism without advocating for a different form of
capitalism.
Yeah. It's just a different form. Yeah. Whereas like as socialists, like democratic socialists would still acknowledge that like capitalism is inherently unsustainable. So it's like we have a climate crisis that's on the horizon that's about to kill all of us, and specifically it's going to hurt mostly people in the global south, in countries that like are closer to the equator. And we have things like rising inequality, and as socialists we're saying like we don't think these things can be fixed in a capitalist system. So we're still advocating for worker control over the economy and the state, but we're advocating with a special emphasis on a democratic state, So I think socialists historically have not always used the most democratic means to achieve their goals. Like, you think of like the Soviet Union or even the People's Republic of China, it's like, it's very centralized power. So I think democratic socialists would advocate for more decentralized power and more input from the communities that are actually being affected by policy decisions, And so really democratic socialism is just socialism, but with a more direct emphasis on democracy and input from the broader community. Yeah.
Like historically, though, if you think about the Soviet Union, Russia to the Soviet Union, like Tsarist Russia, you couldn't have voted in socialism.
No,
it just wasn't possible.
No, you literally couldn't.
And so they had to have revolutionary socialism. And I'm not like taking a stand against revolutionary socialism. I still believe there's some legitimacy to that, but democratic socialism is open to the idea, in my mind, that you can also achieve socialism by not violently overthrowing the state. You know, like that we could do other things to get to socialism.
Yeah, and I want to actually put forward an example in modern day of something that I would attribute to democratic socialism. So in Bolivia recently, the MAS party. Do you remember what MAS stands for?
Movimiento a Socialism.
Yeah. So the MAS
socialism
is a Bolivian political party that grew out of like specifically indigenous rights activists and indigenous communities within Bolivia that have historically been trampled on by everyone else. So they built this movement, and they started building a broader base. They got into urban areas. They started working with other movements and other organizations, and eventually they actually came to power. And they are hardline socialists. They would consider themselves self-socialists. And like some of the stuff that they've wanted to do is like their first leader, Morales, wanted to nationalize their lithium reserves. So right now, lithium is really big in the global economy because a lot of people are trying to transition to more green means of energy. And so Morales is saying like, okay, well, we should be able to keep the money that you're trying to give us for these lithium reserves. But so basically, they're socialists that have come to power by, they have street actions, they have brawls with the state, but they've mostly come to power through political means and being voted in. And they've been voted in twice now, and they have a huge base in Bolivia. And we'll see how long it lasts. The U.S. has not had a good track record of letting Latin American countries do their thing.
Exactly.
But that's a really good example of, I think, what a lot of people, specifically within the DSA, are advocating for.
Right.
Yeah.
So me, I was in the Army for 17, 18, 19 some years, right? And like trying to, when I got out, trying to figure out, man, I know this shit is pissing me off. I didn't know I definitely wouldn't call myself a socialist or any of that, I don't know, I wouldn't call myself any of that shit when I got out the military. And just trying to figure it out. So, like I talked to John and like, what does this mean? And like, what about this shit? And then I heard this person, I'll show him this thing and he'll like talk me through whatever his understanding of it is. So like people that are trying to learn this and wanting to get a part of the social justice part of it, and then, but not really understanding that the DSA is acting on this social justice portion of this thing as a piece of the bigger picture. Like how do you go about showing somebody new stuff, or have you had to do that before? Like teach somebody this stuff that wants to be active in.
Yeah, I think that's a great situation for like Colorado Springs. We don't have a history of like a lot of socialist activism here.
There's a lot. Like there's one of our close people in the center there had this idea. So we got this shopping center here where the Chinook is at, and he was like, "Yo, I just wish I could get every one of these. I could just own this building." He said, "I would get rid of all of this trash, like whatever." He was pointing at like some of the businesses that are like that aren't doing any good for the community,
Yeah.
And he was like, "I would kick their ass out. Like I would tell them, go find a spot and I will pay for it for you to get out of here so I can have this and put my community stuff in there. But I would help them." I was like, "Bro, that's socialism, man." And I was like, that if the government were to like, I don't know, all of the schools are fucked up over in these type neighborhoods, and now we're just going to build, fix it, what I'm saying, or whatever it is that needs to happen. But you tell us what it is. I mean, that's it. That's the fix, right? So anyway, people think like this, and they think with socialistic tendencies and don't really understand where it comes from. So I'm wondering, when have you run into that, or when you do run into it, how do you plan on teaching that to them
in like a friendly manner?
Without being like,
friendly or not,
we're communists, we're gonna overthrow the state, we're gonna,
with all of the big talking, like people don't understand get in the means of their labor. That stuff. They don't understand.
No, there's a lot of jargon there, right? So it's like, usually when I talk to people that don't know what socialism is whatsoever, I approach them just like with the idea of worker democracy, because at its very core, that's what socialism is. And what I tell them is, I say, like, you work a job, right? You hate your boss, right? Your boss only gets in the way of you doing a good job, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better if you collectively as workers not only got to keep everything that the business made, but you got to decide how it made it and the process by which you're making it? So it's like, that's usually how I approach people. You have this idea of socialism as like this authoritarian state that's like guiding everything within the society.
Yes, Russian, making you walk like this.
And it's like, I'm sure that there are still communists that are advocating for that sort of style, but it's like at its core, like that's all socialism is we want workers to control their workplace. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
and tenants to control the buildings.
And tenants to control their building. Yeah, like the key thing is like we want the community to decide how things are being run and what is best for the community, rather than private entities, little dictators. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you like, capitalism is so dictatorial. Like there are little dictators. I have to go sell my labor to someone who then gets to tell me everything that I have to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Shave your beard. You gotta be a certain weight.
You gotta pee in a cup.
Right. Yeah. And then you have all these buildings that are like being used for jack shit. You know what I'm saying? Like malls are dying. We have Citadel and Chapel Hills malls, giant ass buildings that could be used for like literally anything that the community wanted to use it for.
But it's privately owned.
Right, and it's privately owned, so the community literally can't do anything with it. So it's just wasted space.
Right.
Well, and they won't do anything with it unless they see it as profitable.
Exactly.
And that's
we were just
key.
talking about that yesterday.
Exactly.
We were riding downtown because I locked my keys in my car for the third time.
But we're becoming experts at
popping it, man.
Getting into cars.
So we were riding downtown, and I was like, man, you look at all these buildings and they're building all of this shit down there, and you're like, I bet you a third of this space in all of these buildings is just sitting there not being used, and maybe even more. You know what I'm saying? And like, we would rather let this shit sit here and just collect dust than or whatever, than to let you pay a lesser rate or whatever, or lose money on.
And what they think the market.
And like, think about all the useless jobs that people do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can guarantee, like, there's like half of the people watching this right now think back to their job and they're like, I don't even know like why I have a job with this place. I feel like I don't do anything, or I feel like the work I'm doing isn't valuable. You know, like if you're a telemarketer, you're like, it's like, not to knock telemarketers, but like, I think another big portion of socialism is like, we as a community decide what labor is actually beneficial for the community.
Like what needs to be.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, we don't need podcasters.
We don't need podcasters.
Or like,
basically, I'm coming on here to say abolish Just COS.
Yeah, like, it's crazy because when you think about it, like, the transatlantic slave trade, and then it went, you start with feudalism, kings and queens and shit, and then the slave trade, and now you got bosses and employees. It's the same thing from kings and queens, slave owner, boss. It's the same exact shit.
And here's the this is like an axe I'm always grinding. People say, well, capitalism, is better than feudalism because we're free laborers. We get to choose
ostensibly.
Yeah, where we work or whatever. And capitalism was really built on slavery. We couldn't have had everything that we have in Western Europe and North America if we wouldn't have taken people from Africa, which then underdeveloped Africa. There was a massive population decline in Africa as a result of the slave trade, and now people are like, what's the matter with Africa? And then, obviously then the genocide in Latin America too. But the wealth of capitalism, the capital was from slave labor. And they're like, but people claim that capitalism is this amazing system of
we just made it up.
Free choice among laborers. But then everybody also knows that every single one, most of us in this room were probably born maybe at most our parents had a house and a car. That doesn't give us a lot of options for where to work. I was talking about when my sister had to get a job as a teenager to help cover household expenses, because that's what working class folks have to do. That they don't have a lot of choices in their life. You know what I'm saying? So this idea that it's free. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's if you don't have transportation, if you don't have any means to get an education, and you have been given shitty education your entire life, you're gonna just work where you can work.
Right.
And if every capitalist around you has decided that what people's work is worth is not a living wage, then you're just gonna have to settle for the non-living wage. You're gonna have to go to bed hungry.
And that's exactly you just described Colorado Springs too, right? Because we got the report card from D11 and D2 that they're showing that Black kids and Hispanic kids can't read and write at grade level at any point in their career in these districts. And then the longer that they're in the district, the worse they get. The bigger the gap gets, they literally get dumber the longer they're in these districts. I don't know if that's I shouldn't have said that, but that's true though. That's what it is.
I'm a product of District 11.
Yeah, I'm a product of District 2. Maybe if I would have been in District 8, we might have a couple millions to do this instead of this, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, seriously,
damn you, District 11 and District 2.
So they're not educating us, and then then they got to go work at a job whatever the hell, and then. Now the housing market here in the best city to live in the country, number 1, 2 city in the country, you can't even get a house. So you either go homeless or you move to Austin.
And the wages are so low here too.
Right. Yeah.
You need to have money to move.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't.
Right. So it's at a certain point, there are many people, thousands of people in this city that are ready to let's go fight. You know what I'm saying?
Completely.
Let's go fight.
Because they're suffering under low wages or unaffordable rent, or most likely both. They're being squeezed between those two things.
Right. And then when you're homeless, now you can't even set a fucking tent up next to some water or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mind your damn business and try to get your shit together. Nah, you gotta. They'll come. They literally come and steal their shit, dog, and throw all of their shit away. Man.
I mean, at Dorchester Park, there was just a huge sweep of the homeless encampment that was there. You know, it's that's where a lot people will set up tents, especially when it's cold as fuck. You know, you gotta huddle around with people.
Right. Because if you set a fire, God forbid you start a fire to keep warm up out there.
For real.
Or take a stove.
Right.
Or
so you get these people on the street, and then you're like, "Hey, you can't be on the street."
Right.
It's where do they go?
Exactly. I'm out of options here, bro.
There's people that are not really homeless. They got a little trailer or something or RV. You can't even park that motherfucker in the parking lot.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Even though that's their private property.
Yeah, man, because it's private property. Oh, you see, even though.
Well, I'm just saying,
they'll
take it from
we saw right here in Cayland, a dude had an RV parked on the side of the road, and they came and took his shit, and he was living on the side of somebody's house after that. And just because the neighbor knew he lived there and always interacted with him or whatever, so after they stole his car from him, he let him live on the side of his house. You know what I'm saying? So which was only a 2-bedroom house anyway. He didn't have room for him in there. So anyway.
Yeah. So picture we as a community actually had control over our city government.
Right.
And we got to tell them, hey, we need housing for people, and hey, we need we need good wages for people. and we need you to do things about these buildings that like nothing productive is happening in.
Yeah.
Because we have problems and we need you to fix them.
But then they say they can't because like private property and blah 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 blah. You know, like we can't do that. Yeah, exactly.
Man. So anyway, that's why this shit gonna get tore up. That's eventually, like, you know, like Karl Marx said it too. Like he was like, eventually capitalism is just gonna like make people do shit.
It creates its own grave diggers.
Create its own demise. So like, and that's where it is. So anyway, we could go from that conversation because we talk a lot about the workers owning the business and the company and the, you know, the production and the you know, having all of the benefits from what it does. There's dang, what's the capitalist name from the debate? It was Wolf and Gene somebody. So Simmons. I was listening to these
Simmons.
people.
I always knew it.
Yeah, but
also yes.
So man, he was like, "Yo, all of this stuff that you socialists are saying can happen and is possible in capitalism." So like he's like, right now you could make co-ops and there's actual funding to build co-ops and whatever, all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? All of this stuff can happen. What do you say to a capitalist that tells you everything, like literally everything that you're saying, capitalism has the ability to provide it?
I would say it's not just a micro problem, and I would also say that you know, like if slavery were still happening in America, and someone were saying, "Hey, you have the option to run a business without slaves," I would still be like, "That's stupid." Like that's so dumb, you know? Like, no, I'm going to abolish slavery.
Right.
And I don't want to equate like wage labor with slavery. I'm just trying to make an analogy.
But it is, I think it's they're direct descendant.
You know, and so what I'm saying is like I'm seeing an issue with the broader society, and I'm seeing how everyone's lives can be better.
Yeah.
And I'm also seeing how capitalism is actively killing us as a species and is actively oppressing people on the ground. And it's like, you know, like I as a white dude in America might be able to go start a co-op and have a successful co-op or whatever, but like what about like a black woman who's like terrified of the police in her community or doesn't have the capital to start
all that intergenerational wealth that white people get.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like this isn't just like a worker thing. This is also like this is what intersectionality is, right? It's class and race and gender, and it's these things. And socialists are going across these lines and being like, we need to fix all of this because everyone is hurting right now.
Right.
And they're all interrelated.
And they're all interrelated, you know. And like another thing, like co-ops are really great, and I do advocate for them. But co-ops are bound to be sucked up by bigger capitalists in the capitalist system. So like in capitalism, there is this tendency for all of the capital to be concentrated, right? So we see this in America, like more and more, very few people own everything. You know what I'm saying? It's like the media is owned by like 5 different companies.
Yeah.
Amazon basically owns all distribution in America. So it's like it's being increasingly concentrated, and eventually like worker co-ops won't be able to survive.
Yeah, because they have to participate in that same market. That's been like a long-standing critique of co-ops. Well, if you have your cool little co-op that you're all running together, but you still need to get products.
Yes.
From the capitalist market.
And you have to profit is the thing. Like the profit motive is the thing that really drives capitalism, and the profit motive is the thing that does not allow these business owners to actually take care of their communities.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because their first and primary motive is profit. You know, if they don't get profit, they die.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying is like we need to replace the profit motive with a motive for human need.
Yeah.
We need to be structuring our society around human need rather than the profit of a few.
Yeah. I completely feel like businesses should be built solely and purposefully to take care of the person that's making this phone or this whatever, like everything, like child care, all of it, you know, health, all of the things, and like a big ass, you know, back the truck up paycheck. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel all of the profits should just go into that, because then I feel like if you have like, I think about my job now, right? Because I feel like I hit the jackpot with this thing. You know, I'm really lucky, like the wage I'm able to earn and then the amount of work that I have to do to get it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, why can't everybody do that? Why can't every company do that? Like
every
they can,
job be a
dude.
good job?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like, why
they literally can.
Give me a good place to work and like like take care of the people that are working there. And you know, like I beef. There's some stuff. It's not perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like I was telling John, like I don't know. Next season I might not make it through. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, fuck. I know that it was a good place. Anyway, I just feel like all of these companies, when you're making a business or whatever, and you're thinking like, man, I want to do this. Like, you don't have to think. So my bank account could be like this, and I got a peasant working in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, how about like, I'm gonna make this business, and I'm gonna try to get 4 people on the same level with me. You know what I'm saying? Now we're all making $50,000 a year or whatever, and now I can go make another business and 50 over there. Now I'm making 100, and I can do something. You know what I mean? It's just so many things that you could think about going about business inside your community, and then I feel like holding the businesses that are operating in the community right now to that standard. You know what I'm saying? There's a way to start it. You know what I'm saying? Like start your mom and pop stuff, but then make them do it so that way, because you know you got to have action with your plan.
And I think like often like small businesses are kind of like put on a pedestal, and no one ever wants to actually acknowledge that
they're
like
capitalist.
Well, and like even more like they're built off of like exploiting labor. You know, it's like they are still underpaying people. They like. And like the way I see it is, you shouldn't have a business if your business is running off of giving people not enough to live. You know what I'm saying?
Like
it's just don't start a business.
You don't have
I don't
the right
care
to run a business if you can't pay people correctly.
Right. It's sort of like you wouldn't, if you were running a bakery and you didn't have enough to cover like decent flour, so you're putting sawdust in your bread.
Right.
Like same thing. You can't just be like, well, I'm going to put sawdust in my bread because I don't like my model doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, it's like you probably shouldn't have a business. Like if your model requires putting sawdust in it, then get out of business.
That is a great example, Russ. Russ and you should have thought about that.
I mean, that's just part of like having a business. You know what I'm saying?
The first thing is like make sure the payroll is where it needs to be. But
and I understand part of it with mom and pop shops is like, look, in 1934, we didn't have Amazon. I mean, we had like the Rockefellers, I guess, you know what I'm saying? But like, it is legitimately difficult for small business owners to actually compete within like a market in which you have Amazon that dominates globally.
Right.
You know what I'm
John,
saying?
I want you tomorrow to go compete with the biggest weapons producer, Raytheon.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like
you literally could never. These companies are too big. I mean, the old adage, too big to fail, which really means these companies are propped up through government funding.
Yeah, it is.
But even still, it's like literally no one could, like, there is no competition in this capitalist system. It's
I mean, the old adage is really true, especially in the United States: socialism for the rich, capitalism for the rest of us. Like the rich basically get a robust state to support them, or social democracy, you could say, for the rich, right? But and then everybody else has to live in this cutthroat society. That was some Democratic senator, I think, that said that. But whatever. So can we move on? Actually, are you guys good to move on? Just I wanted to hear what what's the Springs DSA? What are their campaigns moving forward? So
it's a good time to talk about what you guys got going on, man.
And how people can join, or what they they can do in the next couple days and weeks.
Well, so I'd recommend everyone go like us on Facebook, Colorado Springs DSA. We have a website that is also listed there. We have an Instagram and a Twitter. They should just be Colorado Springs DSA or COS DSA. So I recommend everyone go like that stuff. We constantly are posting updates about our events and such. Right now, currently, we are looking to release our first newsletter. We're going to be doing a monthly newsletter that we're actually going to be collaborating with Chinook Center to.
Wait, you are?
Yeah. I was like, I think I talked to him about it. Yeah, so we're going to be collaborating with Chinook Center and their People's Grocery to distribute that. But that should be releasing March 15th is I think the date that we decided. So we're doing that newsletter. We just got an eco-socialist working group coming up started up that is actively collaborating with Denver DSA on doing a people's tribunal is what they're calling it. So it's basically just a mock trial and putting big politicians on these mock trials to kind of highlight how they're failing to address kind of the issues of climate change and how that's affecting people. So I think the next one coming up is actually Jared Polis. Which is I'm stoked on it. I'm not actively a part of that, but I'm stoked on it. The Labor Committee is working to do some panels. They're also working with Denver DSA right now, and I think we're looking to actually be reaching out to Fort Collins DSA to collaborate on something. But so just stay tuned for stuff on that. Electoral committee is planning several electoral campaigns over the next 2 years to get ready for the midterms.
Nice, man. All the way up the 25 corridor.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, I'm pretty stoked on how much of a strong sort of unit the I-25 corridor DSA chapters have become. Yeah, we collaborate regularly, and it's nice.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love all the connections I've made with Denver DSA. You know, it's like now it's like I have friends in Denver DSA. Right. We're not just hey, can your organization collaborate with mine? It's like, hey, as friends, do you want to work on this together? You know, it's like it's great, and I absolutely love it. We're really working towards building connections with all of the organizations in Colorado Springs, specifically like through Chinook Center, and Chinook has just been awesome for that. So I'm currently trying to reach out to some of the organizers in Black and Pink, and you know, in Move, I'm really good friends with Chauncey and Charles. I think right now what Springs DSA is doing really is building up some infrastructure to prepare for whatever does come next.
For fighting season.
For fighting season.
Yeah, and we're also we do like bi-weekly political education, so you can always come join us on that. We have
called Socialist Night School.
Socialist Night School, yeah. I think that's pretty much everything we got going on right now. Yeah.
That's totally a lot, man.
Yeah, it is actually.
I mean, are you guys gonna do any work?
No. We're what you call champagne socialists.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's time to party.
We just sit and complain about things and we sip our champagne while we ride in our nice cars. And,
yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, so I think that it's a great example, man. I can't wait to just see it happening, because it's like, oh man, if they get that to happen. And that goes just like my, like light bulbs go off in my head or whatever.
And that's the benefit of a large organization. I used to be opposed to this sort of thing back in my anarchist days, but over the years I kind of saw that there is benefit to having a large group that's got a cohesive platform that can spread across the country. Because it's really hard if you just focus on your neighborhood, you could do an amazing thing in your neighborhood,
but it might never spread
And
anywhere
it might never spread. Exactly. That's why you need. Yeah, exactly.
And then
and then that can get crushed in 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, it's really great for mobilization. We have a lot of people that are in one communication circle that can mobilize, and it's great for building solidarity with people too. Which as socialists, that's a really big priority of ours.
You gotta stick together, man.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we good to go, John?
Yeah, we're good. That was probably close to an hour.
Yeah, we're on there, man. About an hour and 8 minutes right now, somewhere in there. Oh, I guess we started a little late. I did want to talk about tomorrow.
Yeah.
KLCC, K-Land Community Cares it's One Body ENT, has the Black History Program that's going on tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I think all the tickets are sold, but you can view it online. We're going to show it at the Chinook Center too. You could get tickets to watch it online or whatever. So you could go on their website. It's onebodyklcc.org and get that ticket for tomorrow. They got a number on here, 719-502-7103. And it's tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So make sure you tune in. Right. It's dope, man. It's the 8th annual one, man. So they're almost to their 10th year.
It's a massive production.
It is humongous, man. And just to know the behind the scenes stuff, in the first couple of years, I'm like, oh man, that's dope. I'm going, but just to they literally have been doing this since I think Thanksgiving. Jen had her first tryouts or whatnot. So if you guys haven't been there before, what they do is the kids do it's like a talent show kind of deal, where they pick a Black figure in history and they emulate them. They dress up like them and they tell their life story, and they got a little vignette that they do. And then they got performances and stuff for people in the community or whatnot. Rodney Gillette is hosting it, so it's a big deal in the city, and you guys need to tune in, man.
It's adorable too, because it's little kids
dressing up, One year, Lil D was dancing with Tutu, singing the Whole New World, the Aladdin song, and it was this whole sweet moment.
You didn't show me that video.
You almost made me cry, homie. Stop that, man. Yeah, so anyway, it's good, man. So you guys tune in tomorrow, and they also got a show tonight at the at Club Tilt 2 tonight at 7 o'clock that you can get tickets for and whatnot. So
also another thing that's happening tomorrow is my mom's birthday.
Oh,
so happy birthday, Mom! I love you. I hope you have it. She's not in town right now, but so I don't get to see her on her birthday.
Bad son, huh?
Yeah.
That's a good
Happy
one,
birthday,
man.
regardless. I hope she's watching today, even though she's probably on the road. But
oh, okay.
All right.
She's driving.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. All right, yeah. Be safe. All right, then we'll see you soon, huh? We're out of
All
here.
right, peace.
Yeah. All power.
Hey, you! We got your boy!